Hey, this is James Mathis III, voice of Black Panther in Marvel's Avengers Black Panther's Quest, and you're watching Mr. Media.
Chadwick Boseman was great in the live-action Black Panther and Avengers films, making him one of the highest-grossing action stars of all time. But he is not the longest-running actor to play the role of Wakanda's king, T'Challa. No, for the past 8 years, it is James Mathis III who has been the voice of the Black Panther in animation, anime, interactive games, and live shows, including Marvel Universe Live and the Marvel Experience. He was most recently heard this summer in the animated film Lego Marvel Superheroes Black Panther, Trouble in Wakanda on Disney XD. And he returns this fall as the lead in the 5th season of Disney XD's animated series Marvel's Avengers, Black Panther's Quest. Now, you can meet James Mathis III in person this summer at any one of the following comic book conventions: Florida SuperCon, Raleigh SuperCon, and Golden Triangle Comic Con. And I have been to Raleigh SuperCon. That's a fun show. You should enjoy that. As a voice artist, Mathis has also appeared on Undercover Brother, The Golden Blaze, Star Wars, The Clone Wars, Ben 10, Word Girl, Celebrity Deathmatch, Iron Man, Rise of Technivore, and Hulk and the Agents of Smash. James Mathis III, welcome to Mr. Media.
Thank you for having me, Bob. Thank you.
Great to have you here. I was telling you before we started the show that I've had a number of other people best known for their voice acting. Rob Paulson, Josh Keaton, who
Yes.
I'm mentioning this because you pointed out to me he was Spider-Man when I talked to him. And who is he now?
Now he's Ant-Man.
That's so cool.
He's doing Ant-Man for us, yeah.
Still a bug, though.
He is still a bug, an amazing bug, the best bug you've ever heard. Yeah, Josh is awesome. I love his work.
Oh, that's very cool. Well, in reading up on you, it looked like your early career was kind of traditional acting, that you were going after, just you were on screen, you were being seen. I kind of wondered when voice acting presented itself as a real career.
Wow. Well, voice acting kind of just came in stride. I guess it was the evolution of my acting career. Like most actors, I started in school, in grade school, and then in high school, and then I did some plays in college. And after college, though, I had a day job at FX Networks in the on-air promotions department. And while I was there, some friends from USC were working at a startup internet company, and their first project was Undercover Brother.
Oh.
They knew that I was an actor, and they knew that I did voices, as they say, and they called me in, and I read for John Ridley, and it worked out. I got some of the secondary roles and tertiary roles in the Undercover Brother animated series, and that's kind of what got me going in voiceover. I felt like it suited my skill set, and I also liked not having the pressure of having to look a certain way. It was more performance based.
I think I've heard that a lot from the men and women who I've interviewed who have moved into voice acting pretty much full time. It's like, I don't have to get dressed up.
Right.
You can
Certainly. I mean, the typical assumption is that we show up at work in our pajamas, or at least that we can. Thankfully, I've never seen anyone do that. Although a work sleepover could be a good time.
I guess so. Have you done much radio as well, or mostly just film and animation?
I have not done much radio. In fact, I can't say that I've done any radio at all. It's film. I started in film, then progressed into TV, where I did episodic work on ER, and did some music videos for In Vogue and Toni Braxton back when they were top of the R&B charts.
Mm-hmm.
And but no radio, though. No radio.
Interesting. And maybe this would be a good point to ask if you want to just tell us a little about yourself, where you're from, where you went to school, all that kind of stuff, and whether your mom might be lurking nearby.
My mom is always lurking. I think we all have a mother's voice in our head. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York.
Oh, same here. I was born there too.
Yeah, here. I went to Brooklyn Technical High School. Same high school as Kim Coles and Lou Ferrigno and all your favorites. And once I graduated, I wanted California. My mom has four brothers, one of whom lived in California at the time. And while I was in high school, I had the chance to visit him and his family. And I thought it was just where I wanted to be. I liked the weather. I liked the people. It was just a more laid back place to live. Brooklyn, Brooklyn was Brooklyn. And at the time, being a young black man in Brooklyn wasn't necessarily the safest place. And I didn't want to go to school there. I didn't want to have to worry about looking over my shoulder when I'm trying to have my mind right for exams. So I planted my flag in LA, went to USC, started in business, thought I wanted to be a business major. My girlfriend at the time was going to be a doctor, and Cosby was big, and I thought, we're going to be Cosbys. I'm going to be the lawyer, you're going to be the doctor, and we're going to have this amazing life and have lots of babies and maybe a TV show about it. But that ended up not being the case. I grew tired of business. It wasn't creative enough for me. I needed a creative outlet. And so I didn't want to go to theater school, though, because I wanted a degree that had more than just theater.
Mm-hmm.
I needed to do something practical. And my mom instilled that in me, even in high school. In New York, you get to choose which high school you want to go to. And I wanted to go to a performing arts high school because I was really dead set on this acting. I wanted to be an actor. And my mom encouraged me to focus on building a solid education foundation, a solid base. And I ended up going to a technical high school and majored in computer science, which and then I found my way into theater from there. I was a little shy in the beginning. My first year in high school, I did not want to do the play. I walked into the auditions and saw all these upperclassmen and thought, this is overwhelming. I'll do something else. So I started running track. Oh. And that was how I spent my time when I was trying to build up the courage to resume acting. And then after my dad died, it just resonated with me that it was something I really wanted to pursue. So I did a couple of plays in high school. I was the New York City Shakespeare recitation winner doing Shakespeare in high school, which was awesome. Yeah, I loved the Bard. It was great. I thought, just the idea of playing with words, I thought he showed great command of the language, and I really enjoyed that.
Do you have a favorite character or play?
It was Othello.
Oh, of course.
I would say, yeah, right. The obvious choice is Othello, but yeah. And then when I got done with high school, like I said, I went to USC, started in business. That didn't work. Then I thought psychology because everyone else was doing it, and that didn't work either. And I met with a counselor, and we decided that I was going to pursue occupational therapy.
Oh,
yeah. Because of how much they made. That's what caught my attention. I was like, okay, cool. When I get out of school, I want to have a good practical job and be comfortable and live my life. Well, that was even more boring to me than business. It was great. Lots of respect for those who work as occupational therapists. It just wasn't for me. And then I had a friend at USC who told me about a program where they were inviting students to Korea. It was a 3-week trip to Korea, sponsored by the Korean government in the wake of the LA riots. And I thought this would be a great opportunity. And I applied and was chosen. And a small detail on the application was that they asked what my major was in school. I was very undecided at the time, and I decided I was going to put film. I just put film. I was interested in film. I shot all sorts of home movies with my friends and thought, I'm going to major in film. And they chose me. And not only did they choose me, but they asked me to shoot a documentary for them of our trip. And then Fox got involved. And so in '94, I did a 3-week documentary of our trip to Korea, which aired on Good Day LA a couple of days, which was pretty awesome. And I still didn't have the acting bug yet, though. I thought I'm going to be a filmmaker. I wanted to be the next Spike Lee. Growing up in Brooklyn, Spike made all of his films in my neighborhoods.
She's got to have it.
Yeah, she had to. Do the right thing.
Yep.
That was a big film for me in my time, and and I thought I want to be an auteur. I want to be a director. I have stories that I want to tell. Um, yeah, that was how I began. That was how I began.
I got
And
it. I have to ask because you brought it up. What happened to the doctor? Where is she now?
she is a doctor.
Oh, good.
She's a doctor. Yes, she's a doctor. She's married, and they live in, I want to say Bahrain. I think,
Wow.
yeah, I think they live in Bahrain.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Also, we ended up being still remaining very good friends. It was very good friends. Yeah.
So she's in Bahrain, and you're the Black Panther. It makes perfect sense.
How about that? Yeah, there's balance. There's
Yeah,
balance.
yeah.
Absolutely.
That's wild. Um, did did you ever get used to being on screen once you started acting and being on stage, or did you move away from the stage in favor? What was the transition there?
I loved it. I befriended a very, very, very talented group of writers, both for the screen and the stage, and actors and musicians and artists, uh, African Americans at USC. And each year there was an African American, sponsored production. So I got involved in that. 3 years as an actor and 1 year as a writer director. And so I was able to still feed my desire to be an actor without having a full on professional commitment. And so it was never very far from me. Even while I was in film school, I still had my finger on the pulse of the acting world. Um, and so once I got out of school, one of my friends from school, Prentice Penny, who's the showrunner of Insecure on HBO right now.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, he wrote a film, cast me in that film, and one of my fellow actors recommended me to his agent, and that was how I got my first agent for on camera for theatrical work. And I booked a commercial. I did a Coors Light commercial with Jamie Foxx. That was my first big on-screen gig. Was a Coors Light commercial.
That's pretty damn
As
cool.
DJ, yeah, I had long locks. I grew dreadlocks for over 10 years. So most of my early work was either the Jamaican, the Rasta, some form of something that showcased my hair, and it was another reason I didn't mind the transition to voiceover because I wasn't married to how I looked. It was just all about how I sounded.
Yeah. As opposed to, I hear that Hollywood may do a bit of stereotyping if you have an ethnic look or sound.
They might. They're inclined to do that.
Yeah.
They're inclined to do that, and you can cast a wider net as a voice actor. Because again, you're not limited to your physical appearance. So that resonated with me, and also the material. Hollywood on screen has its names, it has its people, and so those are the ones who get the really meaty and juicy material to work with. But in the voiceover world, I found that it could be a video game, it can be an animated series. It was a wide array of possibilities wherein you can bring some really rich and texturous characters that you couldn't necessarily do on screen.
I'm still surprised when you said that you have not done any radio work, because I would think once you're in the voice game that would be another one of those doors. Well, let's see. Today I'll go through the anime door, but tomorrow I'll do the radio door.
Yeah, I guess I just never pursued it. I backed into voiceover, professional voiceover. A coworker at FX when I was there, and recommending me to her friend who was an agent, and setting that meeting up. That meeting was initially for on-camera representation, commercially. And after that meeting, they asked me to go see the voiceover department down the hall, and they gave me some material to read. And a couple weeks later, I booked my first job.
Nice.
Thankfully, yeah. So I guess we were off to a pretty good start.
Now, I know I've been driving the comics fans crazy by talking to you about, God forbid, we talk about your actual career and how you got to this point. So let me transition slightly and ask you, how did you land the role of T'Challa?
The role of T'Challa. Wow, it's an audition process that I remember very well. It came across the audition material came across just like any other audition. It said Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, the role of T'Challa, King of Wakanda, and it had a few core attributes which resonated with me. First, of course, was that he was a king. Uh, Second was that he was an intellectual, and third was his strong connection to his family. And I thought those were the core elements of whatever would be a solid, memorable character. And I really pushed for those things. I really pushed to convey the presence of a king. I really pushed to, with command of the language, to convey the intellectual side of him as well. And by way of vocal presence, I was able to give him a greater presence within all of that, without necessarily being physically imposing. He could sound so. And Yvonne at SVV, who was my agency at the time, was an amazing booth director, and we danced that dance that day in the booth and laid down what I thought was one of the better auditions I'd ever had. But I still didn't think anything of it. You know, with the amount of auditions we have in voiceover, it's better to forget them. You know, so I do it and forget about it. Otherwise, I'm holding hope for so many things, and you know, holding these things in the air that it's just better to move on.
And can you, before you go on, can you give us a sense of what that first day T'Challa sounded like coming from you?
Yes, I'm trying to remember some of his lines. T'Challa was still the king, but he didn't have as much bottom. You know, I'll have to say that. The character has grown. We have grown together. Mm-hmm. And so he has today he still has a lot of the affectations of his original portrayal, but initially he wasn't as gritty. I think since we've seen more of him and we've had more material with him, we have opportunities to do different things. So we try now to play in greater subtlety and just we can do more now because we have more material. In the beginning, he just had 2 or 3 lines. You know, he was the secondary, tertiary character. He was in the shadows, and now he's in the forefront.
So it used to be he was Black Panther the 18th, and
yes,
now he's the Black Panther.
Indeed.
I don't know what I'm referring to there. So, I mean, could you give us a sense of how he sounded when you started doing him? I want to come back to the story of how you got the role, but what he sounded like early on compared to what he sounds like now?
Yes. I'm trying to find a way to verbalize the difference apart from what it feels like inside. He was more of an adolescent T'Challa, is what I would say, because his introduction was all about him being the son of the king, you know. So I wanted there had to be some room left for him to grow into his presence as the king, you know. So Prince T'Challa might have sounded a bit more like this, and the King T'Challa would sound more like that.
King T'Challa sounds a little more like, wow, I just went blank. The voice of CNN.
Yes, of course.
James, oh, help me. Why can't I think of his full name?
James Earl Jones.
Thank you.
That's okay.
This is CNN, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so let me go back. So I interrupted. You were telling the story. You did the audition the first time and sent it off, and then just
and left it alone. And then I got a call back, and it was like, hey, you know, there's a call back, and it was my first it was my first real callback where I felt like, hey, I have a real shot at actually getting this role, you know. And I remember the guys from Marvel on the other side, and we did the audition, and at the end, they asked me if I could just crank up the intensity a notch. They wanted him to be even more present, I guess, in those ways that the king might have to be commanding if he's unhappy about something. And in that moment, I remember I tested for an on-camera pilot, and I remember there was a moment in my on-camera test where there were 6 of us in the beginning, and then they brought 2 of us back in, and they gave us an adjustment. And so in this moment in the audition for Black Panther, when it was that adjustment, I knew it meant something. I knew, okay, this is going to be the moment. It didn't matter the other stuff I did. Okay, great. But this moment, whether or not I can project what you're asking me right now, I feel like you've checked off some things from the list. And if you can check off this last thing, then it's my role. And, you know, when you want something, you really dig and you reach. And I dug, I reached.
Cool. And is it necessary for T'Challa to sound differently than the Black Panther? That is to say, when he's, you know, dressed as the Black Panther. I mean, I'm thinking that unlike Superman and Clark Kent as the basic example, there isn't a big issue of secret identity with T'Challa. So is it one voice at all times? Or is it one intensity of voice? Or does T'Challa, as you've gotten to know him over the years and, you know, been the character more and more, is he 2 different people, or is he always the king?
T'Challa is always the king, but he can also be 2 different people. He is away with the Avengers, but then he is away with his own people. And one of the ways I wanted to convey that in this next season of Avengers is in the dynamic between T'Challa and Shuri. I felt that should have an element of tenderness, because it's a sibling relationship, and we haven't seen that side of him before. And it should be decidedly different from how he is kingly and commanding with the Avengers. And I wanted to make sure that was a subtle difference. It's the difference between wearing your shoes outside and kicking them off when you get home.
Sure. Well, and you're very different with your sister than you are with
certainly. And that's people have asked about Chadwick's Panther, and one of the things Chadwick Boseman.
Who? Sorry, just kidding. Go ahead.
One of the things I offer is that he plays in more dimensions than I do. Chadwick can use his voice. He can use his physical presence. He can convey subtleties in ways that we don't have the luxury necessarily in the animated space, or we hadn't. And that's one of the great things about this next season of Avengers is that having more material for T'Challa, seeing him in different spaces allows us to reach for more of these subtleties and show more sides of him, which I think fans will really appreciate, seeing more sides of T'Challa.
When did you find out that T'Challa would be the focus of the 5th season?
I found out that T'Challa would be the focus of the 5th season on the last day of recording for the 4th season.
Oh.
Yeah. It wasn't confirmed, of course. Nothing is confirmed until you get the actual call that says it. But it was a conversation. You know, it was that last episode, for all intent and purposes, was the last episode. And, you know, I was trying to manage my emotions, of course, because who likes to say farewell? You know, it's like the last day of school. You know, this is it. See you. Have a great summer. You know, and then it was, can you come over here for a minute? And Yeah, is it cool? Am I in trouble? That was the first thing I thought, of course. It was like, oh my gosh, am I in trouble? What have I done?
Right.
And they said, no, we're thinking about doing this, and we're thinking about calling it Black Panther's Quest, and it would be about Black Panther and his duties as king in Wakanda.
And you're like, holy crap, I'm Black Panther.
Yes, yes. It was very exciting. You know, of course I had to manage that excitement because it was all just it was speculation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it wasn't actually confirmed. It was just talking ideas, you know, and all of course confidential things. So I couldn't leave there and say, hey, guess what, guys? They're talking about I couldn't say anything to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
It was just I just had to hold on to it and hope that it was true.
Is there you know, at the time, as you finished the fourth season, was there talk at that point about the movie, or did you know about the movie happening at that point?
I believe the movie had been announced. I believe at that point the film was announced, but there weren't very many details about it. Not very many. Just that it was happening. I think they made the big announcement. Excuse me, with Chadwick with Panther appearing in a few films.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and I think we knew by then. Yes.
And so the Black Panther film itself was February of 2018, I think, is when it came out.
Yes.
When did you record the fifth season? I'm assuming it's already in the can.
Yeah, it is in the can. We are in ADR for it right now, mm-hmm. and a lot of that was recorded in 2017. Yeah, and we didn't have access to the film's storyline. We didn't have access to any of that. Mm-hmm. So what you will see in the animated series in Black Panther's Quest is different in many ways than what you saw on screen. You know.
Did I read that there's a Thanos connection though? I think he's screwing with me, folks.
I'm sorry. I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure I read something in the description of the episode.
It was in the Lego special, certainly.
In that, okay, but we don't know. You're not going to tell me in terms of the fifth season.
I can't, because then I might not be Black Panther anymore.
Oh, okay.
If I tell you that, yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, that makes sense. That makes sense. And I'm just curious. Have you met Chadwick through all this?
I have met Chadwick. I met Chadwick on 2 occasions in the same venue. I met him twice at the Hollywood Bowl, both times for Reggie Hudlin's Black movie soundtrack concerts. And in each time it was hosted by Craig Robinson. And the first time we met, he hadn't yet been announced as Black Panther. Mm-hmm. Oh. And so, yeah, exactly. And I was like, wow, and then it came out maybe 2 weeks after we met. And I was like, oh, it was one of those moments. I was like, we should have taken that picture.
Oh, yeah.
Cats. It would have been awesome. And it just didn't happen. And then I saw him, I guess, 2 years after that. And they'd already shot the movie.
And so the first time you met him, did he know that you were the Black Panther, the voice of the Black Panther?
No, we just met through mutual friend. It worked.
Just a couple of guys who met, the actors, and you met at a.
Guys hanging out. Yeah,
okay.
That was it. It was casual introduction. We were there for the same event.
And then the second time.
The second time, I did express that to him. Yeah, and I wished him well and all that. I was like, yeah, I'm the voice of whatever. Who knows what it was? It was all so fast and in passing, and I didn't want to. It's just still 2 guys. It's 2 guys chatting.
So you haven't met since the movie's come out, and since you've got the 5th season coming up with Black Panther.
That is correct.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, there is a picture though. We did manage to take a picture that day.
Oh.
Which is out there. Yeah.
Okay.
Got it. Find it. Yeah.
Maybe I'll see if I can find that. The other thing I wondered now, the guy's doing okay. I mean, in this year alone, he's had. The Black Panther film, it's like one of the 3 biggest films of all time. And then Avengers with Thanos, Infinity Wars. So I mean, he's doing okay, but Hollywood is a brutal place.
It can be.
Did when the film became so big this winter, this spring, I had to ask if you became at all concerned that Chadwick might be like, why can't I be the Black Panther in everything?
Of course, I think it's only natural to consider all of the possibilities. But the only thing I can do with that is channel it into something I can use. If I spent my time worrying about whether or not Chadwick was going to take the role from me, I don't think I would. I think the depth of my performance would be quite shallow. But I understand, though. I mean, I would understand if he, at some point in time, expressed that he wanted to do that. I would get it. I wouldn't begrudge him for it.
Well, you wouldn't publicly.
I wouldn't. Look, I'm a realist.
Yeah.
I'm a realist, and if that was something, it's still a business. It's show business, and if that's something that the powers that be felt like they wanted, then I'd have to understand it. I would have to.
Now, as we're having this conversation, we're coming off a weekend where my wife and I had binged Luke Cage on Netflix, and I'm hearing your voice, and at times I'm just kind of closing my eyes and hearing your voice. I could easily hear you doing Luke as well. But Mike, so that's okay. There, I'm stereotyping. I'm saying okay.
Well, but it's okay though, because I have done Luke.
Oh, is that right?
I did Luke in a Marvel Heroes game.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. He got to be a little different than the other guys I played. I enjoyed that. Sweet Christmas. Yeah, that was fun.
I was just going to ask you if you would say that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
In the first season of that, my wife was never a comic book fan. I've always been I mentioned to you before we started that I had bought Jungle Action starring Black Panther, the comic book, on the stands in the 60s. I mean, I'm that old, But I was explaining to her, I said, at some point in the first season, he's going to say Sweet Christmas. He's going to say Sweet Christmas. And she says, why? What on earth does that mean? I said, just wait for it. So, yeah, you got to have that. But where I was going is, as a voice actor, you don't have to do Black comic book characters. You could do. Who else could you? I mean, have you thought about it? Who else could you do? Have you suggested?
I think the beauty of my team of agents at William Morris Endeavor is they know that as voice actors, Black voice actors in particular, we're not just Black. You can sound like whatever you want to sound like, So they don't limit me based on my physicality, based on my appearance. They don't do that. They think broader than that. And so, there are goblins. Goblins aren't of any specific ethnic origin, or you can play anything. You can play a color. You can play a tree. So they're very open-minded in the material that they send and that they send me out on. I played Captain Typho in Star Wars: The Clone Wars. The on-screen actor was from New Zealand. So anything's possible. Everything's possible. I played the Puppet Master in a Fantastic Four video game many moons ago. He's a little nerdy looking guy. He looks like the accountant.
I was thinking you could play the Hulk.
Ooh. But see, then I wouldn't be able to enjoy Fred. And I really enjoy Fred playing the Hulk. He's awesome. He's awesome. But yeah, I could. I mean,
just a thought.
I could give it a shot, of course.
Do you ever have Black Panther dreams? Do you ever do the voice in your sleep? Has anyone? I don't want to get too personal, but has anyone ever told you that you were having a nightmare as T'Challa?
Thankfully, no.
Oh, okay.
But my kids do hear some of T'Challa around the house. There are times where I have to invoke his commanding presence just to get things done a little quicker.
Oh, now you open up a whole door. How many kids do you have? How old are your kids?
I've got two kids.
Yeah.
I've got two kids. My daughter is 8. She will be 9 in September, and my son is 7. He'll be 8 in November.
And do they can they separate you from T'Challa? I mean, do they get it? They're at the perfect age for
The,
cartoons, obviously.
the perfect age. I'm so grateful. I feel so blessed to have a son who's in the sweet spot of enjoying this stuff right here. He's able to read the comics, which is great, and he's able to to watch the shows. In fact, the greatest little anecdote about my work as T'Challa is that he was born the day my first episode of Avengers aired. My first episode as T'Challa was the day my son was born,
Wow.
and particularly noteworthy because he was a home birth, and so I was torn between watching my very first episode and having my very first son being born just upstairs. It was a great conflict to have.
That's a good one.
It was awesome. It was awesome. Yeah.
That's very cool. Do you among other roles that you've played, any other favorites? I mean, you've been in so many different things now.
Wow. Well, thankfully, I have been able to do a couple of things. I don't know. I'm so married to T'Challa right now that I have to say he is my favorite. He is my favorite. Yeah,
Now,
but I did enjoy
mhm.
Enforcer Alien on Ben 10,
Oh,
and that stands out to me because it was my first animation job, my first series animation gig episode ever, and that was cast by Chris Zimmerman, amazing casting director. I'd worked with her on a video game,
hmm.
Shadow of Rome, where I played twin twin. I guess you would call them zombies, and she brought me in to voice a similar sounding character in Ben 10. So that would be my next favorite because it was my first.
I have to check. I know I've had someone who was a voice actor on Ben 10, and I can't remember who it was. I have to look that up. Maybe the way things connect, it'll appear, folks. If you're watching the video on MrMedia.com, at the bottom of the page, at the bottom of the post, it'll probably bring up Ben 10. So whoever that interview was, it's probably down there. Probably Josh Keaton will pop up too. Uh, you are doing comic book conventions this summer. Is this the first, or have you done these before?
This is my first full year doing them. Last year was my first convention, and that was Dragon Con in Atlanta last year during Labor Day. Massive, massive convention. They're shutting down streets in Atlanta. It was awesome. It was a really, really awesome experience. I was sold then. I was hooked. I was like, I have to come to more of these. It's beautiful because it's like meeting the audience after a play. You've done the work, and now you come out and you get to spend time with the public, and that's the part I really appreciate is meeting the fans, feeling their enthusiasm for the work. It's really awesome, and then also being a fan myself and being able to see and at times meet people who I'm a fan of. Not just actors, but there are wrestlers out there as well. I grew up watching wrestling, so I got to meet Ricky the Dragon Steamboat last year, and it was like, whoa! It's awesome. It's awesome. That's another great thing about cons is being able to be a fan as well.
And not to mention, it'll be a stream of income if you want it for the rest of your life.
That's what they say, and that was another reason I wanted to knock on that door is because they talked about that. I'd heard of one of my friends, my great friends, J. August Richards, was a gun on Angel, and he still travels because of the Angel fandom. Like, wow.
You have another benefit from your con appearances behind you, right?
I do. Oh yes, this lovely piece right here is fan art. Artist by the name of Keith Wall. I got that from him in Tennessee most recently, this April at JampCon. Really great, and that's another delightful part of the con experience is meeting the artists. At times meeting writers, and I always encourage them if they have art that they want to leave on my table for other people to say, hey, I'll let people know where I got it. It's communal in that way. Which is nice.
And
Just
if you don't mind, point to it again. I switched. We had been split screen, and it's just you
yeah,
now. Yeah,
yeah,
it's very
yeah.
nice.
Some piece,
And
just orchid.
and James, just behind your head is another Black Panther. The head, right?
Yes, yes. I've got the guy. I've got the mask. Yeah, there's a Shuri over there
Oh,
on the
is that it?
wall.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
cool.
We try. I love seeing the Shuri action figure. I think it opens it up to the truth about kids playing, that there's boys and girls playing with these toys.
Hmm.
I think it's great. I think it's
Well,
great.
as a dad with a son and a daughter, I imagine you're more sensitive to that than someone who's just got boys.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so. Yeah, but it's representation matters, right?
I,
You
I,
know.
I believe that. Yeah. All right. So we know you have the fifth season of Marvel's Avengers: Black Panther's Quest. That's coming up this fall. Anything else that's upcoming you want to mention before we wrap it up?
Yes. Oh gosh, I would say be on the lookout for a really innovative virtual reality project uh, coming from the title of which I can't say the name yet,
Okay.
but it was an amazing experience. I got to do mocap, which was awesome, and I'd be on the lookout. I'd be on the lookout for that. It's pretty cool.
Very cool. And
Yeah.
all right, so folks, the fifth season of Disney XD's animated series, Marvel's Avengers: Black Panther's Quest, starring my guest right there, James Mathis III. That is coming up in the fall. He's still got a couple more Comic Cons. Got RaleighCon, Florida
Right.
SuperCon, and okay, I forgot the name of the third one. Wait a minute, I got it here. Golden Triangle, right?
We're actually headed to Florida SuperCon tomorrow.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very
Can't
cool.
wait.
And do you, website, Twitter, Facebook? Can people follow you places?
Yes, they can. On Facebook, it is James Mathis III fan. On Twitter and Instagram, it's my name, James Mathis III.
Very cool. Well, James Mathis III, this was a lot of fun.
Thanks,
Uh,
bud.
Great to have you on. Looking forward to the fifth season of the show, and I hope you'll be playing TChalla for many, many years to come. And thank you so much for joining us at Mr. Media today.
Thank you for having me, Bob. I appreciate it. Mr. Media is awesome.
I'm not going out tonight. I'm gonna sit at home in the dark. Watch the lights on the street tonight. Turn out the stereo receiver. Turn your back on the deceiver. It's a bad idea to believe her. A bad idea to believe her. Turn up the stereo receiver. Turn up the stereo receiver.
Which I'm guessing, if you're not 5'4", we'll never be on the same level except right now.
Hey, everybody's the same height in VO.
Yeah, there you go, right?